Deborah Smith adding.
Ready? Scott, ready? The press and the Down Beach Current were notified of this meeting, and a copy of the same was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Would you take a second, turn off electronic equipment, and we'll stand for the flag salute. Attention salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Becker.
Here.
Commissioner Blumberg.
Here.
Commissioner Tauby.
Here.
Okay. First item of business is we need to discuss and decide about a temporary acting clerk. I would suggest that we appoint Mr. Deeney temporary acting clerk. Anybody? Mari? Brenda?
I'm okay with that.
Whatever he would like to do.
Do we do the motion now, Mayor?
No, we can't do it here. We have to do it in the regular meeting.
I
5 o'clock.
accept it for the next 2 hours.
Cool. All right. Now we'll go to department head reports. Mr. Wahlberg, are you choose to begin?
All right. Couple things. The current road program, most of the beach blocks are still being worked on. We lost a week because of the horrendous blizzard that I thought we were supposed to have. Anyway, they shut down for a week, but they're back on the job and they're moving along. We have Granville Avenue. They're doing the concrete work right now. They're doing the pipe work on Essex Avenue. And Douglas, we're trying to get a schedule on them when they're going to get in to do that pipe work. The projects, that's currently the only project that's working. On the agenda today, we have authorization for us to bid both the new road program and the state aid road, which is Amherst Avenue from Washington to Vendome. So those two projects we'll advertise as soon as we can. And the Amherst Avenue, which leads me into the gas company, just so everyone's aware, every street that when the gas company's working right now, what they're doing is temporary paving, okay? It's base paving. They are just restoring the trenches to grade. You're starting to see them settle, which they will settle. Any street that is currently on the moratorium list, the gas company will be paving from curb to curb. That would include, for example, Amherst Avenue from Vendome to Quincy, Quincy Avenue from the 400 block north, and you'll see there'll probably be several other streets they're doing because they're just beginning the big push. And when I say the big push, probably looking at between 25 and 30% of all the streets in Margate are going to get new gas service, new gas mains and services. So any of those streets, and the moratorium list is fairly long, any street that they touch that's under moratorium is curb to curb. And what I've been told is there's the potential for some other streets, depending on the amount of disturbance, it may be better for them just to repave curb to curb. So just be patient. There will be inconvenience, there's no doubt, and it's going to be on quite a few streets. The gas company has been providing the chief, both chiefs, myself, I believe Rich, with a schedule every day of what they're going to be doing. And so far, knock on wood, they've been adhering to their schedule, and they've been very good as far as minimizing disturbance. As the mains get installed, then they'll start coming in and doing the services. Everyone that gets a new high-pressure service and has it, and that their current meters are located under their house, we'll have to have the meters taken out from under their house and put outside. Every house. That's happened so far on Quincy, on Rumson, on Pembroke, and probably on a couple of the houses on Amherst. So that will be standard procedure. Everyone's gas meter will be out, that's getting a new service will be on the outside of their house. And that's due to the fact that we're going from low pressure to high pressure, which will help everyone's, the reliability of their service. So that's pretty much what's happening. I have a complete list of the streets back in my office. There's many streets. There's 2 phases. They're both going on. Actually, there's 6 phases, and they're broken up between 2 contractors, Kiley and Lantier. Kiley will have everything from Jerome Avenue to Longport, and Lantier will have from Jerome Avenue to Ventnor. So there will be a lot of disruption, but Kiley's been pretty good, and Lantier generally is better, so we should be okay.
And I have a couple of questions. Is there a process by which they're to notify the homeowners that they're going to be working and for what period of time they're working on the street?
Yeah, what we're seeing is Kiley in the past, and initially we had a little bit of a problem, but then they corrected it. A week or 2 before the work starts, the contractor's been putting a letter in everyone's mailbox. Then when they actually start the work, there's a door hanger that's going on everyone's door explaining the process, what they have to do, contact number, because they will not shut your gas off unless you're aware of it. So while they may bring a main through and put partial service, they will not disconnect the house unless a homeowner or some representative is there to permit them to then go back into the house, bleed the system, make sure any gas-fired equipment is operational. So there should be, and on top, they have their own inspectors out there. We have someone out there 8 hours a day following all both contractors. So we're trying to minimize any potential problem.
Okay, and my second question is related to what's the process and/or procedure for the streets that aren't under moratorium? Do they have to hot patch, or what are we doing to prevent these patches that they do from becoming potholes, which happens in less than 6 months on all the other streets that they're going to be working on?
Well, part of the reason that we're letting them do the base paving, and it'll be months. Some of these streets that get the base paving may not get fully paved by the summer, okay? It just may not be practical to do that. But the longer we leave the trench in this condition, the more likely there is to be settlement. Once the settlement takes place and they come in and do the final paving, the streets that aren't done curb to curb, they will be required to mill out that trench area and pave so that we have a nice sharp edge, nice even transitions, so you don't get that. And for example, if the trench wanders, they have to go full width so that we have a clean area. In many cases, and we've found this on another section of Amherst they did last year, it was easier for them to just pave half the street. There's a section of Rumson, and while some of the residents I know were unhappy with the color differential, the street rides very, very nicely. There's no settlement, so that's what'll happen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Okay, and then the streetscape program, the contracts, backing up. We originally went to design on a number of streets for streetscape. Subsequent to that, Jim Rotella put in a grant application for us for those sections as well as some other sections. We were successful. We received $350, 70, something like that. I forget the exact dollar value. However, we had to stop until the paperwork was done, and the grant process was slow, but that's the way it is. The grant process was approved. We put the services out to bid, the engineering services for those other sections. We were fortunate to be successful. The papers, I believe Scott's office had reviewed them, all the grant application, the grant agreements went in, so we're ready to go. As soon as we got that okay, I sent my survey crew out to survey the streets that weren't previously done that we received a grant for. They are in design right now. We're probably looking at a couple more weeks before the design is complete. Once the design is complete, I believe the grant agency needs to review the documents prior to going to bid. So we're probably looking at going to bid sometime late winter, early spring. At that point, we'll make a decision whether it's worth trying to get any of the work done this spring or having the contractor get all their materials in place, because there are long lead times on lamp posts, on the signposts, several of the decorative improvements. So it may be that we get all that taken care of, we get that purchased, the contractor purchased it, and then we start in the spring, or in the fall rather. What I don't want to do is have disruption sometime when our season is starting. So that's where we are with the streetscape. I don't have exact dates yet, but I anticipate, I'm anticipating that we're probably going to bid it this spring, start construction in the fall. Okay. And we are currently back out to bid with the with the Washington Avenue Municipal Building. We met with some contractors. We value engineered it. We asked the interior designer and the architect to go through it. We've restructured the bid, and it's our intention, it's out to bid. We're having a pre-bid meeting, and I'm hoping we can stir up a lot more contractors. We have a pre-bid scheduled for February 19th and open the bid March 11th. We're giving them adequate time after the pre-bid to really research what their prices, and then hopefully the numbers will come in lower than they did before. If you remember, we only had 2 bids previously, and one of them was not a complete bid. The municipal building emergency generators, that we did receive a letter a few weeks ago that money is in place or that is approved. There's still a document that has to come, a grant agreement. In the meantime, we are getting that designed, and I have to meet with Frank and Fred and the chief, and we have to actually, where we wanted to put the generators, we really can't put one of them because of existing structure. So we have to look out there where we can put them where it will be least disruptive to municipal building, the neighborhoods, and any further development that happens with this complex. So the actual physical design, the wiring and all that stuff is done. It's pretty much where are we going to put them? I know, Mayor, I said it was going to be short, but I apologize. Let's see, I think that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Ed. Chief? Before you begin, Chief, I'd just like to give you the praise that you and your men deserve for the fire that you took care of on Lancaster Avenue. Your performance was exemplary as usual. I've heard a lot of good things from the neighbors and also the people of that town, so thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mayor. And I'm extremely proud, and also I wanted to thank Dave, Chief Wolfson, for the cooperation that the police department gives us on those calls. It was very good. Again, there's also a very informative article on page 2 of the Current that came out today by Nanette Galloway, if you want to take a look at that. Otherwise, things are good at the fire department, Mayor. On another note, I've been asked to take the lead in the Beach Patrol upcoming contract, and we've had one meeting, and that will continue for the next few months, I'm sure, and it'll be overseen by the business administrator, Rich Deeney. Also, a short note, the fireworks for 2015, we've already met, and things are moving forward to be done way before July 4th this year. So that's looking good. And also, we found out in our meeting from the Margate Mothers Association, that they have an additional $3,000 check to give back to the city from last year. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Lisa?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. First thing, we received a proposal from the Associates for Life Enhancement to renew their contract. They provide services for our employee assistance program. It's 24 hours, 7 hours a day, confidential counseling services to our employees. They've provided services to the city for several years, and annually their contract is just under $5,000. And I seek your approval for my recommendation and add the renewal of their contract to the February 19th agenda. That's all. Is that okay?
Good? Good.
Okay.
Go, Lisa.
Want to let you know that a budget draft is complete, and I anticipate getting very close to a zero increase, if not a zero increase, but it's still under review, and I'm meeting with Rich on Tuesday to discuss that, and once we have a more accurate draft of everything and review everything, then I'm sure that Rich will provide everything to the commissioners. We've also worked on capital budget and are almost ready to introduce an ordinance for our general capital and our utility. We're hoping to introduce on February 19th, but if not, it might have to be on March 5th. And we are keeping within the proposed, $3.5 million plan for general capital and $1.5 million for the utility. And lastly, at everybody's place setting, I just prepared a financial status report to let you know where the city stands. Both the 2014 annual debt statement and the annual financial statement have been completed, and I have filed them ahead of their due date with the Division of Local Government Services. And I've also asked Fred to post them on the website, and they are there for anyone to view currently, along with our prior years. And the report is self-explanatory, but I just would like to point out a couple of the highlights because the city is in a good position currently. In regards to our debt, the total gross debt is just over $57 million, but as a percentage of the equalized value, it's 9.98%, and we are permitted to borrow up to 3.5% of that equalized value. So we're in a very good position. We have one of our utility issues dropping off after this year, and it's being reviewed consistently. Regards to our ratables, the 2014 added assessments were over $14 million, which puts our 2015 net taxable value at $3,560,607,337. So, which equates to $356,000 is equal to a penny on the tax rate. Our total cash on hand is $12,579,310.61, of which the majority is in our current fund. And I also added what our grant revenue was for 2014 that we realized. Ordinarily, we only realize approximately $60,000 in grant revenue, but because of the services provided through Jim Rutala, we realized over $793,000. And the majority of that came from two grants. One was a community development block grant and another neighborhood community revitalization grant, which were both one was $354,000 and another $375,000. And I know for this year there's another one that Ed was referring to that will be appropriated with an offsetting revenue anticipated in the 2015 budget. And The best news is in regards to our fund balance. Now, keep in mind, all of these numbers are unaudited. I'm not anticipating any major adjustments when we are audited for the 2014 fiscal year. But regarding our current fund balance, at the beginning of the year, it was $4,119,635, and at the end of the year, we had $4,682,327. So we are up over $500,000 over the prior year, and the $500,000 is primarily due from excess revenue stemming from what was anticipated, largely in part $200,000 of which was in our construction department, construction fees, so thank you, Jim. And there was also a few $100,000 excess realized in the collection for delinquent taxes. So we're in a good
Lisa, can I
position.
interrupt you for a second? And I think that is even after we were waiving fees, weren't we, in the beginning of the year still? So that's good.
In 2013.
Yeah, that was the prior year. So we realized, I think, just over $500,000 in construction fees for 2014, which was excellent. Hopefully, it will continue for this year. Our capital fund balance ended at $795,075, and our water and sewer utility fund balance ended at $857,102. The capital was down and the utility was up. And in regards to our taxes, the total 2014 tax levy included the added assessments was $51 billion. I cannot read today. I'm so sorry. Yes, and $51,692,694. I apologize. I just can't read today. We realized in cash $50,756,000, and our collection rate is 98.19%, which is very good. So those are just a few of the highlights. As I said, both of the statements from which I obtained the information are on our website, and I also emailed both statements to each of the commissioners as well as Rich. If you would like additional detail on anything, please let me know. That's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chief Wilson?
Good afternoon, everybody. I was able to file our last year-end report. That was the Federal Forfeiture Trust Fund, and I just want to thank Lisa for helping with that and providing the numbers. As always, we were right to the penny. And other than that, everything's good. Something I'd like to note is several months ago, we stuck a prescription drug box, drop drug box in the PD lobby with the anticipation that it would be used very little in the city of Margate. Well, we're averaging a full box every 2 days of dumping medication, which is surprising me, and I'm actually contemplating going to a bigger box. The only thing I want to put on the record is if, Nadine, if you could do this for me, Ned, I'm sorry, if you could do this for me, that people are dropping loose pills in there, and we don't want to accept loose pills. Just yesterday, it was filled 3/4 of the way up with loose pills, and we like them in their container. It makes it very difficult for us to get out. So, but it's
That's
a high
awesome,
concern.
Chief. If they weren't there, they'd be down our toilets or in our trash.
That's correct.
Awesome.
So it really worked out well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Rich?
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to take this opportunity to publicly thank the staff here in Margate. They've really stepped up. This is a busy time of year, December, January time period, end of year closeouts, and beginning of year operations. We're shorthanded, as everyone knows. We've, in our clerk's office, we've lost our city clerk as of December 31st, and we've lost our former deputy clerk and our city clerk effective February 1st. We're making some physical adjustments. Obviously, our tax office is operating with a new tax collector, although we've had Linda for a long time as our deputy, and taxes are due this week, so it's busy, of course, in our tax office. In addition to that, I've taken the opportunity, now that I've been here 3 years, and have worked with as many people internally as I have, to form a number of ad hoc committees that have helped me tremendously with to be able to review items and to make recommendations that will go on our agenda either today or into the future. And everybody's really stepped up to the plate. Fire Chief mentioned that he's going to be taking the lead on helping with beach fee negotiations, and it's a good process for him to do that as a beach patrol. What did I say? Beach fee? Beach patrol, I'm sorry. Beach patrol negotiations. So thank you very much, staff, for stepping up, everybody, and I very much appreciate it. Secondly, I've been involved fairly heavily with others, but as the point person with respect to our ongoing litigation. And since September, I've been making a report publicly, and it's a cumulative report, so that we have a good historic record since September. And I'd like to be able to update everybody right now by reading a report as of today. I'll make this report, as I have in the past, available to the public in between meetings, but I'm going to read the section that is dated February 5th right now. It reads as follows, and please bear with me, I have some quotes in here, and I'll try to read it as accurately as I can because they are quotes. Finally, on January 9th, 2015, after a year of stalling, the Army Corps agreed to meet with representatives of the City of Margate for the perceived purpose of negotiating meaningful changes to the beach protection plan in Margate. There were about 30 people present at the meeting in the Philadelphia regional headquarters of the Army Corps of Engineers, including technical and legal representatives of the Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Attorney General, and equivalent staff and legal representatives of the Department of Environmental Protection, State of New Jersey, and the State Assistant Attorney General. Representing Margate were Mayor Becker, Administrator Richard Deeney, Solicitor Scott Abbott, Special Counsels Rob Andrews and Jordan Rand, as well as Coastal Engineer Charlie Rooney. After 3 hours of posturing, it was apparent that there was no intention by the host to meaningfully modify their plans regarding the dunes, nor was there any movement from the DEP other than a willingness to further discuss drainage issues. The meeting ended at 12:30 p.m. with the expectations by all that the continuing differences would be addressed next in federal court on January 15th. On January 15th, United States District Court Judge Baum convened the parties who argued their cases before her. Representing Margate were lawyers Thomas Beamer and Jordan Rand from the law firm of Dilworth Paxson LLP. Commissioner Marty Bloomberg appeared as a witness from Margate, as did coastal engineer Charles Rooney from T&M Associates. Also present were Administrator Deeney and Attorney Rob Andrews. The matter came before the court because Margate sought an order to, quote, preliminarily enjoin the defendants from constructing dunes on Margate's beach. On November 24th, 2004, close quote, on November 24th, 2014, the court temporarily restrained the defendants from taking any action to construct the dunes, including the Corps' award of a construction contract. In her 29-page written report, Judge Baum denied the motion for preliminary injunction without prejudice, which got the headline. But please listen carefully. While the technical motion was denied, the court, in its wisdom, effectively granted the relief sought by Margate. It pointed out, and I quote now again, this is from her opinion, as the Third Circuit, interpreting the established Supreme Court precedent held in the eminent domain context, the federal Constitution's due process clause is satisfied so long as property owners have reasonable notice and the opportunity to be heard before the final determination, of a judicial questions that may be involved in any condemnation proceedings. This is what the Supreme Court said. And those questions would be the following: whether the taking is for a public purpose, and as well as compensation issues. And all along, the state has ignored the former, that is, whether the taking is for a public purpose, and they have concentrated, even in court, in their argument on the latter, which is compensation. And it's well known that you can take property from an individual and determine the amount of the compensation later if after negotiations you don't come to an agreement. So we've been talking all along here that they were going to do an appraisal, they were going to negotiate with us, and then, as we've thought all along, and has been proven in the case here, that we were then going to have an opportunity to negotiate with them before there was a taking. What the state tried to do was end run us, file in the county court, and said that they had a taking, told the Army Corps of Engineers that they owned the property from us. That's what the issue is, that we've been in federal court. So the Supreme Court said, as I just read, that there's two prongs there. You have to be able to be heard as well as be compensated. You can be compensated later, but you can't be heard later. Or if we contended you couldn't be heard later, because it technically could be possible to be heard later, but we contended if you built dunes on our property, you couldn't take them away easily, and if you did take them away, if you were supposed to take them away because you shouldn't have been building them in the first place, one of our key witnesses was able to say that there could be environmental damages as a result, including piping plovers and all kinds of other things and nesting grounds. So they kind of got trapped with their own regulations. But let me go on and read further in this report. The key here is to be heard. That is simply what Margate has been seeking since the beginning. We and all citizens of this country are afforded due process, which in this case is the right to be heard by the state court before there is a taking of property. On page 28 of the decision, Judge Baum says, and I again quote, "This case is not about whether the project serves as public purpose. That dispute will occur in state court. This case is about a more narrow but vitally important issue. Have the plaintiffs been denied their rights to procedural due process under the Constitution? As discussed at length above, a state's power to take property from a private person is not without constitutional limitations. A property owner must have an opportunity to be heard before the final determination of whether the taking was for a public purpose. The NJDEP, this is from her now in her report, the NJDEP has agreed that it will afford the plaintiffs such an opportunity by filing a condemnation proceedings with the court. Before then, the parties do not anticipate that any construction will occur. This was said in open court by both parties. Hence, plaintiffs will be afforded their due process rights without fear of imminent construction. Accordingly, this factor does not weigh in favor of an injunction at this time. That's why she didn't grant the injunction, because she preserved our rights, if you follow that carefully. So it looked like we lost, but we won. Accordingly, this factor does not weigh in favor of an injunction at this time. However, in the event the Corps is prepared to proceed with construction and the condemnation proceedings has not been filed, defendants shall provide plaintiffs with 10 days' notice of such construction, so that plaintiffs, if they choose, may seek this court's reconsideration of this factor. Okay. That's it. Since that time, on January 26th, the Army Corps was faced with a deadline of whether to award the bid for the project, the bid having been extended for 30 days from December 27th. Margate officials had to hear this from a reporter, and that is that on February 3rd we heard it from a reporter that the Corps received another extension from the bidders for an additional 30 days. We should be upset that they didn't tell us, even when we asked. We had to find it out from a reporter. It was not on their website. While not forbidden by the court from executing a contract, it is abundantly clear that they are reluctant to do so without the guarantee that they have the property that was previously erroneously guaranteed to them by the New Jersey DEP. They cannot be guaranteed again without Margate being heard in state court. Therefore, without granting the request for the preliminary injunction we sought, we have what we wished for anyway, a future opportunity for due process, our right to be heard, if the state wishes to take our beach property. In the meantime, the project cannot proceed. She brilliantly maneuvered this in such a way to not have to find them in violation of the Constitution and have it potentially appealed and tied up in appeal process by saying to the Army Corps, go ahead, award your contract if you want to. But I happen to know, even though it's not been told to me legally, that the Army Corps really cannot award that contract because they cannot award a contract to someone else when they know that they don't own the property for those someone else to go on. While they may have known it before, the state told them that the state had control of the property. We told them they didn't. The state said they did. They believed the state. So what we've accomplished here is to put the Army Corps in a bind that they shouldn't have been in. They only are in it on their own because we filed this before they accepted the bids. And we warned them that if they accepted the bids, they were putting themselves in peril. This is back in November. And they were about ready to award the contract back in November when we filed this case to prevent them from awarding the contract, which we did prevent them from awarding the contract right up until January 15th. But the judge, having heard the evidence, figured out a way to allow them to award the contract, but in a sense bound them from and prevented them from awarding the contract. So I'm not here to say that they won't still award the contract. They may take that risk, but they haven't yet, and they've had 2 opportunities to do so, and the question now remains, how long and how often will the bidders give them an extension? I can say parenthetically that we know publicly that the low bidder on the contract, and it's been reported now in the press, is the same bidder who has the contract for Southern Ocean City and Sea Isle City, Upper Township, and then Sea Isle City, to do a beach replenishment. And that replenishment is scheduled to start in April, and it's not going to be finished till the middle of August. And so, from a timing standpoint, if they were to award the contract to the same low bidder, that low bidder is tied up until the middle of August. So whatever that does or doesn't do for us is fairly factual at this point. So where we are from here is that we're in a standstill. We're in the same position we really were last November, although it's taken us to have to go to court to be in that position. Presumably, the state now knows that they will have to file in state court. They've been told they have to. If they don't, we will go back to federal court, and presumably she will give us the injunction we had originally sought until they do. When they go in state court, we will object, and we will object on a number of grounds, but I can indicate to you that it will be not based on cost, it will be based on their necessity of taking our property in order to do a beach project that could protect all of us. We think there are different ways of doing that. That being said, that's the report as I know it. It'll be made available between the meetings to anybody who would like it. Questions from the commission? Any questions?
Any questions from here? No? Good
I
report.
thank the commissioners who've been behind all this. Commissioner Blumberg, who testified, was very helpful. The mayor, who attended the conference session that took us a year to get. Scott, and certainly our attorneys. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Scott?
Very briefly, thank you for that report, Rich. As you know, Rosie Freed retired, and we are moving forward. We have on the agenda for it to be adopted at the next meeting, the award for a acting temporary clerk, and I would urge you to accept that. I'm sure you will. I'd also just like to say publicly it was a pleasure working with Rosie the 4 years that she was here, and that I was here, rather. She'd been here for 20 years, and she took her much-deserved retirement, and her last day was the last day of January. So right now, I would also thank Joanna Casey, who really stepped up to help us get these resolutions and the agenda out, as well as Lisa McLaughlin, who's always a pleasure to work with. So, as is Rich, too. We've really got a great team, and I enjoy working with them. You've got a lot of items on your agenda, and most of these I think you're familiar with, but if you have any questions, let me know, and I can answer them for you.
Thank you, Scott. Roger?
Nothing to add, Mayor. We're very busy, and we're looking forward to this ordinance number 1 of 2015, changing the swimming pool setbacks. That will save us several cases before the planning board every year, and thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you, Roger. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to welcome Johanna to the board and wish her good luck and working the meetings with us while we sit here. Rich, that's a great report you have, and I just want to dovetail one comment you said about the dune. The FEMA has been looking at this, the dunes, on the other side with the grant, the money they're paying out for the dunes for the CRS credit. They think that the dunes will work in the event of a storm, but they do want to look at the bulkheads. So there's a study going on right now. It's still in the working method, but we could get credit for this eventually. So hopefully we'll get the bulkheads and the dunes to work in unison, where it won't be creating a serious issue with our CRS program. I don't think it will, but hopefully I'll keep you up in touch with that. Lisa, thank you for the report. It was great. And Ed, thanks for the moratorium on the street update. I posted in my office, so no construction will take place. Anything else? Anything? You have anything? That's it.
Your report. Thank you. Maureen?
No, we're good.
What a surprise. Fred?
The only update I have is that the AARP has started a tax assistance program, and the city of Margate is allowing them to utilize this facility to help anyone that needs help with their tax assistance during the tax season. The only thing that we're providing is the facility and for them to be able to use the facility. So if there are people that need to have tax assistance, they need to go through the 888 number to get an appointment. We will not be taking appointments here with our staff. It's completely out of our hands. It's just with the AARP. So I did issue a memo to our staff. Everybody knows the schedule that's going on. It's going to be on Mondays right here in this facility from 10 to 3:30. But again, we're not taking reservations. Everything has to be done through the AARP website. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Fred. Brenda? Maury?
Just would like to echo the sentiments of a lot of the people here at the table and thank Rich Dini for the great job that he does for Margate City. He always does a great job, but over the past couple of months, he has done 3 times the amount of work that any one man could expect. And so for that, I want to say thank you, Rich. Great effort, and for updating the public on the situation with the beach. I think that's important to a lot of people in this town, so thank you. That's all I have.
Brenda?
We missed an opportunity to publicly acknowledge Rosie's retirement. After 24 years, I congratulate her and wish her well in her retirement. Fortunately, there's a retirement party that we'll get to, say thank you, at that, so that's good. I also want to thank Rich Dini, too, because I think he's done a stellar job really communicating the legalities associated with the Shore Protection Project, and his reports are really helpful to us, and I know they're helpful to the community, too. Today, I attended a PR Council of the Greater Atlantic City meeting today, and Elizabeth Teaneck, she's the planner for Atlantic City. She spoke about the present and future plans for Atlantic City, and I was really impressed with her. She's a dynamic woman with a lot of enthusiasm for the new Atlantic City, and she shared ideas for economic diversification and said that the city's #1 goal is improving their ratables. Every plan that they have has this goal in mind. They've also recently become a Garden State growth zone, which involves property tax abatement, which will encourage more investment. And for businesses, they now have one-stop shopping at City Hall so that they're more business-friendly. And I just mention this because what happens in Atlantic City doesn't stay there. It affects all of us in Margate. And I now have more hope that Atlantic City is on its way back. And I did see the press reporter there taking pictures and taking notes, so there'll probably be a story in the paper tomorrow. But I was really encouraged. That's all.
Thank you, Brenda. Rich, since everybody else has been nice to you, I'm going to be nice to you too, I think. But it's very unusual, and Rich is working here, that we don't speak at some point during the day. Rich's service here has certainly been a pleasure, and most of the time, not all, but most of the time, the conversation ends with me saying to Rich, Rich, thank you for being in Margate, and I think I can't say it any better than that. Rich, it's been a real pleasure. Hope you stay forever. At this point, we'll open a public comment. You have 3 minutes on anything that was discussed here today.
Stephen Altman, 9003 Amherst Avenue, Margate. For Mr. Wahlberg, if I may, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to know if one's home has a gas meter inside the house, as mine does, how long will we be inconvenienced when the gas company is changing the meter to the outside of the house? Will we actually be without heat at some point this winter?
Okay, all I can tell you is when they did my house, it was less than an hour. Okay, and during that hour, there was no gas service to the house. So what they generally do is they bring everything to the house, get everything ready, and reuse the meter. They take it off, and it's whatever time it takes them to pipe it from under the house to the outside and then connect it back up. It was less than an hour for me. It could be 2 hours, depending on how difficult it is to get into your crawl space and work in there. But there will be a time when they're going to do it. Now, they'll notify you, and what they suggest is you turn your heat up, get the house nice and toasty, and then they'll shut it down.
Okay.
They've been very cooperative, the crews, so they'll work with you.
How long after your street piping, I'm on Amherst between Union and Vendome, they've done my street, or my section of the street, how soon would I expect that to occur, the changeover?
Doing the changeover?
Yeah, what we were just discussing.
What they generally do is as soon as the pipe work is done, then they'll start notifying, first they have to identify residents that are here. They'll start that immediately. So I would expect you'll hear from them in, the next few days.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Sewell, 22 West Drive. Following up on the remarks of our esteemed solicitor and Commissioner Talby, it's well to take note, Mayor, that although there were 5 Thursdays in the month of January 2015, somehow this commission only managed to make 1 meeting for the entire month. In any other corporation, where it's a multi-million-dollar corporation, where people would only stagger in once a month, I can assure you that that board would be given a pink slip and an exit visa. I strongly urge this board to take their job and their duty seriously. We have enormous budgets, enormous. We have a $13 million school budget, and the Board of Estimate hearing is, we're just weeks away. And this $13 million is about $6.5 million more than it should be.
John, we didn't discuss that at the work session.
Yes, we have.
We have
Yes,
not,
we
John.
have. We're following up on the remarks of the solicitor and of Commissioner Talby.
I don't remember either one talking
Well, that's
about the
because you
Board of
can't remember,
Education.
Mayor. That's the problem. You can't remember.
Another subject.
But that's
John.
no, it's not another subject. It's a continuing subject where we must address the fiscal spending. It must be addressed. I don't care how it's addressed, but it must be addressed. As simple as what Longport has done, where the solicitor's arch nemesis, George Miller, has saved the Longport taxpayers $9,000 per pupil per year going forward. That would save taxpayers in Margate $1 million a year. $1 million a year. And I strongly urge, Mayor, that we take a similar, in fact, the solicitor could take Georgie's brief and basically plagiarize it a bit and save us $1 million. Perhaps he wouldn't have to charge us $13,000 as we were charged in the whistleblower case. He could do it for under 10 perhaps. But going forward, Mayor, let's see greater fiscal responsibility and greater attendance. Alexander Graham Bell had a wonderful invention that he introduced to the public in 1876.
15 seconds.
And that invention still works, Mayor. You can telephonically be here. I realize that being here telephonically might be a stretch to remember, but I strongly urge you to remember it next time. Thank you very much. And one last issue. There is an Oprah request which has gone beyond the statutory period of compliance. And the various reminders have gone into Rosie Freed's email. I would suggest that the acting clerk get a okay from Rosie to access her email account so there can be compliance with the statutory time limits of the Oprah request. Do we have an agreement with that, solicitor?
I do not know what you're talking about.
There is a pending Oprah request. There's
We'll look into that, John, okay?
Thank you very much.
Now,
I think John was just simply asking, who do we send Oprah requests to? And if we've had Oprah requests in, who's taking care of them?
As far as I know, every Oprah request has been responded to in a timely manner recently.
And one that still hasn't been responded
Well,
to. But it's just open, it's not that it has gone over the
You
time
send it to the
frame.
clerk's office, and we will deal with it.
Okay.
We're prepared to deal with it. Rosie has a log, and she's put them in. We've reviewed the log, and if we're negligent, we will review it again. But she just left on February 1st. Today's February 5th, so it can't be too late. We have 10 days, I think, so.
No, who do we send it to? Like, what email address? Just
Clerk's
clerk's
office.
office?
That's all.
Because we used to send them to Tom and then to Rosie, that's all.
At 6 o'clock tonight, we should have a clerk. I'm only a clerk till 6 o'clock.
It's just a question, I wasn't jumping on his bandwagon. Anyway, Sharon Simon, 424 North Thurlow Avenue. With regard to the dunes, first of all, thank you very much, everybody who's done the work, it's great. I agree that the press all kind of made it look like the state won, and if they needed to feel that way, that's great, because actually we're in a good position. But we did meet with them with a plan, and they weren't interested. Are we just hoping that legally this never comes to be, or are we in the process of thinking technically of an alternative that, because the judge did say we should sit down and talk of an alternative, and what's kind of, what are we doing with regard to that?
The best I can tell you is we've presented one alternative to them. We have a strategy for getting back into high-level negotiations. We have to implement it yet.
So we are working on, still trying to work on a compromise.
Yes, as late as this morning, I spoke with Rob Andrews, so yes.
Okay. And also, I think it's really important to address Ventnor and Longport's concern and whatever our alternative is, whether to approve or disprove that we affect them, or if we do, some way in which, it's only fair. I mean, if they're coming in and saying, look, fine, Margate doesn't have to build it, they have bulkheads, but it's going to affect us, I think that would be important to address. And I also want to give MCQBP some credit, because we actually did, as a group, uncover some things that happened with the Ventnor project with regard to not having the easements, and that went through, and the Corps is very well aware of it. So they certainly are not going to be in a situation now where the NJDP led them to believe that they had easements or said they had it or whatever, and they didn't. So that's also very good for the city and the project. Lastly, in terms of our budget, it's great that we have all this money and we're in such financial great position, and a lot of it has to do with all the building and everything. And I just think it's really important, it's great the commission take credit for this, but it's really, a lot of it's through the building and everything, and the commission has done certain things. But I think that we really need to look at it as if, what if all that building stops? And we do need to look at meaningful conversations about shared services, because if you look at all those dollars coming in, and maybe some shared services and not so much money going out on these whistleblower cases and other big legal numbers, we could have either provided more services for Margate taxpayers, or even have like a slight tax reduction. Most communities are not as lucky to be in the position we are. So I think that should be looked at seriously for the upcoming year. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Is there a motion to close public comment?
I'll make a motion, we close public comment.
Second. Johanna, will you call the roll?
It'd be Rich, right? Rich?
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Bloomberg?
Yes.
Yes,
Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
You got to do it again.
Rich, we have to adjourn the meeting.
A motion. Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Bloomberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Tauby?
Yes.
Fire me.
Yeah, you thought this job was going to be easy.
Yeah, as of 6 o'clock, you're fired.
We will take a very short break and begin our public meeting.